All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking an ancient concept that has been deeply and I mean fundamentally misunderstood for centuries. We are going to completely deconstruct a word that carries an absolute ton of heavy baggage. And by the end of our time together, I promise you, you're going to see your own daily habits and choices in a completely new light. We are exploring the true architecture of a concept known as Azab, and we'll discover how the deepest prisons we find ourselves in almost always start with a simple taste of sweetness.
Take a second and be totally honest with yourself here. What immediately pops into your head when you hear the word Azab? If you're even a little familiar with the term, you are almost certainly picturing something terrifying, right? The traditional fear-based associations are usually all about fire, intense physical punishment, torment, basically something awful that happens exclusively after death. It's a word that, in our common understanding, is literally designed to inspire dread. But what if that interpretation is completely missing the profound psychological reality of what the word actually means?
Because get this, there is a stunning etymological twist hidden in the Arabic language here. If we look at the linguistic root of the word azab, it doesn't mean punishment or fire at all. No way. The root word actually refers to something sweet, easy to swallow, palatable, and comfortable. I mean, just think about that for a second. How on earth does a word that essentially means sweet and easy become completely synonymous with torment and prison? It's a massive paradigm shift. The real tragedy here isn't that a punishment is violently forced on us from the outside. It's that the trap is something we willingly and happily consume.
So how exactly does a word meaning sweet build into our human psychology? Well, it happens in steps. Step 1, we engage in something sweet, easy, and comfortable. It brings us that initial rush of joy. And because it feels good, we naturally move to step 2. We just repeat it until it becomes a habit. But over time, that sweetness fades away, and we hit step 3, which is dependency. The very thing that brought us comfort has silently built walls all around us. The azab isn't some sudden lightning bolt from the sky. It's a self-made prison that we construct brick by invisible brick through easy, unconscious choices.
To really grasp just how central this psychological concept is to the human experience, just consider this number, 373. That is exactly how many times the word azab appears throughout the Qur'an. We are not talking about some fringe idea or a minor footnote here. This is a major recurring theme. It's a constant, blazing warning to human beings about the nature of the traps we build for ourselves.
And it isn't just mentioned frequently. It is incredibly nuanced. The texts detail 27 different types of azab. This really highlights the sheer complexity and the everyday relevance of the concept. It means we aren't just looking at one static apocalyptic event. It takes so many different forms, weaving its way into every little aspect of our lives, our psychology, and our societies.
Let's actually look at the text to ground this. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 6 and 7, it describes this state where a seal is set upon hearts, hearing, and vision. Now, traditionally, people read this as a divine punishment just being dropped on someone's head. But if we read the deeper context, this isn't an external punishment at all. The seal is the natural, inevitable result of repeatedly ignoring our own conscience. When you act against your inner truth over and over again, you eventually lose the ability to distinguish right from wrong. You literally go blind to your own destruction.
And here is the absolute kicker. Just a few verses later, in ayat 10, the text calls this a disease of the heart that continuously grows. So what is this disease? It's the agonizing gap between knowing the truth and actually acting on it. When we live in that hypocritical space, knowing what's right but continually choosing what is easy or wrong, we create immense internal friction. That confusion, that inner turmoil breeding inside that gap, that is the absolute essence of azab. It starts from within. Let's bring this heavy philosophy right into our everyday modern lives. It's the ultimate battle of the knowing versus the doing. Look, we all know eating a ton of sugar is bad for us. We know that doom scrolling on our screens at 2 a.m. is destroying our mental health. We know that lashing out in anger ruins our relationships. And yet, we do these things anyway. That space between knowing a habit is destroying you and helplessly consuming it anyway because it feels sweet and easy in the moment, that is azab happening in real time. Let's shift gears for a second to another really profound example from the text, the story of Pharaoh. Now, obviously, Pharaoh was a historical tyrant who enslaved people physically, but Surah Al-Baqarah verse 49 inspires us to look at the internal Pharaoh. We aren't just talking about a guy from thousands of years ago, we're talking about the tyrant living inside your own head.
It's that inner voice of fear, self-doubt, and oppression that whispers, "You aren't good enough." Or, "Hey, don't ask questions, just accept things exactly as they are." The moment we start listening to that internal pharaoh, we enter a state of total mental slavery. We literally silence our own thoughts and accept self-doubt purely out of fear. You stop questioning things, you stop striving, and you just resign yourself to a lesser version of your life. And this self-imposed mental prison, it's a deeply destructive form of suffering. We are locking our own cell doors from the inside and then voluntarily handing the key over to our fears.
Which brings us to this incredibly powerful idea in Surah Al-Baqarah 85. It talks about those who buy the life of this world in exchange for the hereafter. If we view this through the psychological lens we've been building today, this world represents those immediate, easy, sweet rewards, the quick dopamine hits. The hereafter represents our long-term well-being and ultimate truth. When we constantly trade our long-term peace for a cheap, quick thrill, we slowly drown in deep, long-term despair.
And you can see this trade-off playing out everywhere today. Think about junk food. Starts with immediate joy, right? But it ends in the physical prison of fatigue and disease. Arrogance gives you this sweet illusion of power, but eventually traps you in total isolation. Social media gives you that quick sugar rush of likes and validation, but leaves you in a prison of anxiety and a lost sense of self. Gambling, drugs, they offer a fleeting escape, but end in a complete loss of freedom. The sweetness, that's always the bait. The prison is always the result. Now, with this new understanding, we kind of have to rethink some heavy, often misunderstood terminology. Take the word kufr. It's usually just translated as religious disbelief or apostasy, but the root meaning is so much deeper. It literally means to cover or hide something. Psychologically speaking, kufr is the universal act of self-deception. It's knowing the truth, hearing those internal warning bells ringing about a toxic habit or relationship, and consciously choosing to just hit snooze and ignore them. It's saying, "I'm fine, everything is fine," when you absolutely know it's not.
And the exact same thing goes for another highly charged word, jihad. While it gets portrayed purely as external warfare all the time, the core textual meaning here is a deeply personal psychological battle. We're talking about the intense internal struggle required to realign with the truth. It is the painful, difficult, messy work of looking in the mirror, understanding your own addictions, and fighting tooth and nail to break out of those comfortable little prisons you've built for yourself.
In fact, the text explicitly prescribed this internal struggle as the only real cure. In Surah As-Saf, verses 8 through 11, it calls on individuals to strive with their wealth and their very selves. It is a demand for radical honesty. You cannot buy your way out of Azab, and no one else is coming to rescue you from it. You have to commit your entire being, your resources, your energy, your mind, to the honest struggle of identifying your harmful patterns and actively walking away from them. This also completely flips how we read the stories of the prophets. Take Noah's warning in Surah Nuh ayat 1. He tells his people to wake up before a painful punishment arrives. Through this new psychological lens, this isn't just a threat of post-mortem fire. Noah was issuing an urgent, immediate call to a society that was literally destroying itself in the present tense. He was basically shouting, "Wake up! Look at what your habits and your self-deception are doing to you right now, before the collapse becomes permanent." So the ultimate question becomes, in a world absolutely full of these sweet traps, who is actually free? Well, the sources point to a very clear profile. It's the person who walks the middle path. They don't walk in extremes. They avoid both total addiction to worldly pleasures and total miserable deprivation. But most importantly, they remain painfully, brutally honest with their own conscience. When they feel a habit turning into a dependency, they spot it early, and they have the strength to take conscious steps backward. So what is the overarching takeaway from all this ancient source material? It's profoundly relevant today. The deepest suffering, the true azab, is not something imposed on us by an angry universe. It is born directly from our own unconscious choices. We chase things we mistakenly believe will bring us joy, only to find we've locked ourselves in. The absolute most dangerous prison is the one we can't even recognize, because the bars are made of our own comforts and excuses. Azab isn't just waiting for us at the end of time. It is right here. It's right now. It's hiding in every single unconscious choice we make, in every uncomfortable truth we ignore, and in every sweet habit we let control us. The blueprint for the prison is entirely in our own hands. But the good news, so is the key to our liberation. The only question left to ask yourself as you look at your own daily life is simply this: are you going to wake up,